Hey guys, back with another impressions video. But first, I want to say I hope you guys had a good holiday. It's still kind of the Christmas holiday, but yeah, back to making videos. I had a pretty good holiday. I hope everyone else did. But with that out of the way, let's get right into things with a discussion on this game, Ys Memories of Celceta. One of the Vita games I've been wanting to play. And the E series is a series that I've gotten into pretty recently. Like it's kind of like a new series for me. Um, I've played what I've played: Oath and Felghana, Ys 1 and 2, the remake versions on Steam, and Ys Origin on Steam. I played them all on Steam. And I really love all of those games. 1 and 2 were definitely were a bit dated, but they're still fun. Um, but Oath and Felghana is easily my favorite. And I wasn't sure whether I was going to like this better than that. Because I had heard this one and Ys 7 are very similar, where they have a new character switching system where you have a bunch of different characters and you can switch between them at will. And they each have, like, each of their weapons are strong against certain types of enemies, and they each have their own set of skills and equipment. And this game and E7 are supposed to be quite a bit longer than Origin, Felghana, and the two Ys 1 and 2, which were all those games were like 6 to 10 hours long, like no more than 10 hours long. And I kind of liked that. I liked the kind of how short those games were. They were super fast paced and had great pacing to them. And just when they kind of got a bit repetitive, they ended. So I wasn't sure if these ones were going to be quite my thing. Although I'm sure I would enjoy these, considering it's the same kind of combat. And yeah, this game, it took me 28 hours, I think. So yeah, this game's pretty damn long compared to those other Ys games. About standard RPG length, basically. A lot of RPGs I find are around like that 30-hour mark. So I won't lie, I do prefer the shorter the shorter Ys games. I think this went on maybe a bit too long, especially towards the end. I was kind of getting a bit sick of it, especially since the final dungeon in this game is fucking terrible. I absolutely hate it. But yeah, the character switching though, I actually don't mind at all. In fact, I kind of like it. We'll talk more about that in the gameplay part. But story, of course, you're Adol once again, as always with the Ys games. And you kind of awaken in the Great Forest, and you've lost your memory. Yeah, yeah, another JRPG using that trope. But I kind of like the way this game tackles that amnesia part. Because like most of the story is really weird in this game, because most of the game you're actually like visiting different towns, and kind of like once you visit these towns, people will notice you, but you're and know who you are, but you've lost your memory. So you kind of got to figure things out, and each kind of town has its own mystery to solve. And I kind of liked those. In fact, it's not until like 15 hours into the game where the actual story starts to come in. And I won't lie, the main story in this game, I didn't find it all that interesting. I thought it was really boring. It was mainly the gameplay in this game that hooked me, and is why I really enjoy it. But yeah, the story, there's not really much to say. I mean, it certainly has some charm to it, and there's some elements that I like to it. But overall, I don't know. I thought it was kind of boring. But yeah, let's talk about the visuals, because I do want to talk about the visuals a bit more than I do with most games. This game I thought was incredibly ugly. It basically, this uses 3D models and 3D environments, whereas Oath and Felghana, Origin, and Ys 1 and 2 used like they had like this really beautiful 2D engine, and those games I thought looked gorgeous and really animated well, and the frame rate was always super fast and fluid. This game, like there's like the textures are really like really poor. The character models, I think, really lack a lot of detail. And the game just has like this blurry look to it, like someone like put Vaseline over the Vita screen. And it becomes less noticeable the more you play. But right off the bat, I was really I was surprised how ugly this game looked. Like the environments, I think, are kind of bland too and blocky. The shadows like flicker. And the frame rate, it's mostly solid, but sometimes the frame rate really tanked, which is not what I'm used to with these Ys games. Uh, and you know, I've looked at E7, I guess the new one that's coming out, and they look to have like the same kind of graphics engine as this, which is a bit unfortunate. I actually much prefer the 2D look of Falgana and Origin and the Ys 1 and 2. But like I've said before, graphics I don't really care that much. I mean, it's probably the thing I'd say is the weakest part of the game, but it, you know, again, like it's one of those things where I thought it looked ugly, but after a few hours you tend not to really care, especially once you're into that gameplay. Um, Audio wise, you know, at first I wasn't really digging the soundtrack all that much. I thought like the songs were a lot slower, uh, eh, a lot slower, maybe a bit more boring than they usually are in these Ys games. But after a few hours, like, and some when some more songs came up, I was liking the soundtrack more. The soundtrack is weird because it like gets better the farther you get through the game. But like overall, the soundtrack is pretty damn amazing. I gotta say, like, there's a lot of really like synth rock tracks in this that are like really catchy, um, and really intense too. I really love the soundtrack, though not as much as Ys Oath and Falgana, or actually even Origin and Ys 1 and 2 actually. Um, but yeah, overall the audio is quite good. There's no voice acting. Well, I think there's like battle voices, but other than that, there's basically no voice acting in this game, which is kind of a bummer, but it's not that big of a deal. Gameplay though, um, you know, it plays like your standard Ys game in terms of combat. You know, it's super fast paced. You kind of switch between equipment and weapons. You've got your normal attacks. You've got your skills that you kind of gain the more you level up. You set your own skills. There's like kind of like a power mode where you like every time you attack enemies, you get skill points. When you use your skills to attack enemies, and if you have enough skill points saved up, you can like do this mega attack type thing. Um, you know, the combat just feels really good. You know, like with all the Ys games, it feels good. It's fast. It's fun. The character switching adds a cool element to it where you might run into an enemy that needs to be attacked with like strike weapons. So you might have to switch to a character that uses a strike weapon. And if one character is getting low on health, you can switch to another. I will say, like, compared to the other Ys games, this game is a lot easier. I played on normal mode, and like they allow you to have like up to like 99 healing items and like 99 revival items, and because of that, I thought the game was super easy because I was always like stocked on healing items. You've got an upgrade system too, where you can upgrade your weapons and you can get materials that you like. The materials you gather throughout the environments you can use to upgrade your weapons and armor, which is cool. I liked experimenting with that. Now the character switching, like I said before, I actually like it, but the problem with it too is that like the game's so easy that I mainly used Adol throughout the entire game. Like you can get away with only using Adol throughout the entire game, and I don't think you're really going to die that much unless you go on to some of the harder difficulty levels, which maybe I should have done actually. But yeah, what else is there to this game? It's a bit different. Like it's basically you've got a giant map, and you're kind of mapping things out as you're in these different environments. The more you map, the better rewards you get from like this certain character you meet. So there's an incentive to map out each area you visit, and I found that pretty addictive. Which that wasn't really the case with like Ys Oath and Falgana, for instance. So that element I really liked. You know, you've got crazy bosses, like with all the Ys games. They're probably some of the most enjoyable parts of the game. Pretty long, definitely the more challenging parts of the game. But I mean, you know, other than that, there's not much. I mean, if you've played an Ys game, you generally know what to expect here. If you haven't played an Ys game, this is probably a good one to start with. Like the combat is just super fun. Exploring these dungeons is really fun. You know, finding different items and new weapons and armor for your party. I mean, this game is not going to set your world on fire. I mean, it's a pretty basic game when you get down to the bottom of it, but you know, it's fun. Whether it's my favorite Ys game, you know, I gotta say, I think I like it better than Ys 1 and 2, because those games certainly had some dated elements, but I gotta say, I think I prefer the more, you know, like the 2D visuals and just the shorter, just how short like Oath and Felghana and Origin were. I mean, I hate to kind of compare this with those games, but it's kind of hard not to with this series. But I mean, the characters, I forgot to really mention the characters. The characters I think are really likable in this game. Like I said, the story wasn't all that interesting, but the characters themselves are very interesting. I really like the characters. There's some good humor in this game too. The writing is generally pretty good. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed my time with this game. A bit of a short discussion. It's just, there's not too much to say about the game. If you like Ys games, you're gonna love this. It certainly doesn't rank among my favorites so far. Oath and Valgana is still my favorite. E7. I'm very curious to see what I think of that one. That one's supposed to be even longer than this one. So I don't know. I don't know. I think Oath and Valgana might remain my favorite, but the East just series in general, I really like. So yeah, this game's like around like what, $20 now. So yeah, if you have a Vita, I think this is a must own. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time with it. Not the most amazing game out there, but certainly one I enjoyed my time with. So yeah, that's it, guys. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.